The hunt wasn't going well. They were running around all the streets of Kirov, offering their services to women and even very young girls, to give them a ride or drop them off where they needed to go, but for some reason everyone refused. Gulin cursed after them, puzzled as to why the women weren't taking the bait. Two good-looking young guys, very decent, a Zhiguli springtime, an engine. What more could you want? Oleg Evdokimov flattered his friend, saying, "He does things like that." Gulin replied indifferently, dismissing it. His father, the chief power engineer, is cozying up to him. There are still some opportunities. And his mother probably isn't short on money either, Evdokimov added for some reason. Not just a cafeteria worker, but the deputy head of production. His tone wasn't offensive. In fact, he spoke the last words with clear admiration. But Gulin bristled, as if you were from a poor family and got jealous. He swore angrily, clearly provoking Oleg to retaliate, but Oleg had enough sense to remain silent. In their current state, a quarrel would not have ended well. Gulin was deteriorating faster than Evdokimov, even though their fates overlapped almost completely. Born 3 weeks apart, they became childhood friends, got into mischief, and later went to prison together for abuse. They were both just 14 at the time, so they got a short sentence, the lowest possible. The court considered the youngsters' ages, so they served less time. Just over 4 years later, after his release, Gulin was nearly back in trouble from his very first day of freedom. He drank, stole, and spent the night in the city, where, thank God and his parents, he never lacked anything. He was matched with a bride, had a daughter, considered his marital duties fulfilled. They helped him get into the Polytechnic Institute, and he treated the institute the same way. He introduced the girl to Kukish. They tried repeatedly to get him a job, but why would someone with everything provided need one? They finally bought a garden house with a plot of land within the city limits, giving him the right to exclusive ownership. As they neared the Druzhba cinema, they spotted Marina from the Pedagogical Institute. That was just what they needed. The friends instantly cheered up. Respecting Marinochka, Gulin sang out, skillfully steering toward the bus stop and leaning out of the open door. "Oh, Gera," the girl exclaimed. Polden worked his magic. "I was hoping to get home early, but there's no bus. My heart sensed it." Gulin responded rather indifferently, helping her sit in the back seat next to Evdokimov. "Let's go. I don't give anyone a ride, you know. I'm married, secrecy and all." "I understand," Marina replied mockingly. "Why are you turning that way? I need to go the other direction." "Also for secrecy?" Gulin burst out laughing. "You got me," he exclaimed, taking his hands off the wheel and raising them. "We just ran into you by chance. I have to urgently take this guy sitting with you somewhere. Then I'll take you. It'll take about 15 minutes. Or do a few extra minutes in our company bother you?" Georgie was lively and joking throughout, occasionally interrupted by Marina's replies, while Yevdokimov remained mostly silent. Barely slowing down, Gulin braked sharply. "We're here," he said without turning around. "Where are we?" Marina asked in surprise. "It's just wasteland here. The closest house is 10 kilometers away," Gulin confirmed. "Cars rarely drive by." "You've got me intrigued," the girl laughed. "And what is Oleg supposed to do here? Is this where you were hurrying to?" Marina gently touched his hand. Evdokimov didn't answer. "Here, here." Gulin nodded and half turned toward her. "What he does here depends on you. Are you planning to abuse him?" "Listen, baby," Gulin said seriously. "Listen carefully. We're taking you to my country house to live." "To live like slaves," Evdokimov blurted. "Exactly, to live and work for us." What nonsense. Was it worth going who knows where just for these jokes? Or did you just want to scare me? Marina, upset, kept talking angrily. Georgie cut her off. "Shut up. From now on you're our slave, understand?" Marina finally saw the guys were serious. She backed toward the door to escape. Oleg ordered, "Gulin!" Gulin grabbed her arms. Evdokimov twisted them behind her and pulled her close, clearing the back seat for Gulin. He, having had too much to drink, immediately punched Marina in the stomach. Tears sprang to her eyes, but she clenched her teeth, letting out only a weak moan through them. "Good girl." Gulin pulled a noose and a sharp knife from his pocket. "If you want to live, don't scream." He shoved them back and punched the girl in the jaw with all his strength. Marina sobbed muffledly, licking the blood from her lip. An iron fist struck her in the lower back again. Then Gulin began hitting her face and stomach in a rage. Marina went limp. "Unconscious," Evdokimov stated, ready for further procedures. Opening a bottle of psychotropic pills, Gulin misjudged the dose and poured too much into the girl's mouth, which Evdokimov had forced open. Marina choked and coughed. You've come to your senses, Gulin cooed gently. Here are some fish-shaped pills. Swallow them and wash them down. Come on, don't torment me. Be good or I'll use my fists again. I'm tired. And there's a noose around your neck. They took her to the Dacha. From the verdict, Gulin was planning to capture people, deprive them of their freedom, use their physical strength for his own selfish interests, as well as to satisfy other base motives. He dug a vegetable pit in the garden house, and below that, at a depth of 5 meters 70 centimeters, he built a special chamber for holding people. Marina, contrary to their expectations, did not fall asleep. They sat in the car, confused, not daring to drag her into the garden house. There were people moving around on the neighboring plots. And before you find out what happened next, like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss new strange and scary stories. Also, subscribe to the Telegram channel Strashnoti. It has a different format, lots of content, and a unique vibe. Entry is not allowed for the faint of heart, but if you're not afraid, the link is below the video. The girl remained silent with the noose pressed against her. Maybe we should just go like this. Maybe they won't notice, Gulin suggested uncertainly. If they don't see, they'll hear. The girl is desperate. Yevdokimov glanced feverishly from the victim to the window. Take me home, Marina said hoarsely. You home, but we need to go to Parasha. Drive. I'll forget it all and tell no one, but the bruises will reveal everything, Gulin snorted. I fell down the stairs, they'll believe me. Let's take her, okay? Evdokimov pleaded, looking around nervously. She'll scream anyway, sooner or later they'll catch us. Gulin started the car. They dropped her off not far from her house. Marina lived outside the city in darkness, unseen by anyone. As a farewell, they warned that if she reported them, they'd remember her in prison and find her even underground after release. The friends changed the tires. Yevdokimov took his father's Moskvich, and the hunt for captives shifted to the village outskirts. Their caution increased tenfold. They stopped targeting adults and focused on lone children, but taking them in the village was harder with so many watching. But if the predator was out hunting, the victim was inevitable. Oleg K. would die on his 12th birthday, and Zhenya M. At 13, after suffering the horrors of slavery, the boys died agonizing deaths. Only minutes remained before their capture. After swimming for a while, they shivered from the cold despite the hot July sun. The water never warmed up. They also spent a long time diving, hoping to find the fin that had slipped off Zhenya's foot. The children waited by the road for the bus, tired after a long walk home. A red Moskvich appeared on the horizon. Let's try to hitchhike, maybe they'll give us a ride, Oleg sniffled. Don't get your hopes up, replied the experienced Zhenya. A private driver is a private driver after all. To their surprise, the car stopped on its own. Where are you headed, guys? Asked Evdokimov. Is it far? Not close by. We know your village standards, laughed Gulin. So close by is around 20 versts or more. Fine, get in. The happy boys gladly accepted the offer to follow one man together with them. He was hiding on the bank of Snegiryova. Ever heard of such a river, Ek Nevidal? Zhenya replied solemnly. We swam in it and need to head downstream. Our info says the maniac built a hut there and stays overnight. We'll scout it out now and come back at night to catch him. The thrilling detective story ended suddenly for the children. On the wooded shore, they were thrown into nooses. Squeezing and then loosening their throats, the successful slave owners told the stunned children at length that when night fell, they would be taken to a country house where they would live from now on and forever. The slightest resistance, and Gulin showed a knife. Off with your head. A few hours of waiting by the river, where the evening chill was in the air, completed the process. The hungry children, in a stupor, couldn't even move a finger. The captives were shoved into a cramped cell, locked with a double bolt made of thick bars. The slave owners patted each other on the back, what a catch, and sat down to celebrate. Cries came from the cell, and Gulin, clinking glasses against a bottle, unsuccessfully tried to match them with a melody and was upset that he didn't have an ear for music. Evdokimov was pretty fed up with it. He slammed shut the hatch covering the vegetable pit. Ah, you fool! Gulin jumped up. Get your ass up, I can't stand your music anymore, Evdokimov said, running his hand across his throat. Lift him up, I said. I want to get my first pleasure from my slaves. The tired and exhausted children had already fallen asleep. Pushing Oleg aside and sweetly mumbling, "Chubby tasty," Gulin dragged him upstairs. I recommend it, he concluded, languidly letting go of the battered boy, who hit the floor with a thud. Yevdokimov barely managed to get up from the stool and, struggling, made his way to the trembling little body, unbuttoning his pants as he went. Tearing open his sticky eyelids, Gulin couldn't understand why he felt so light-hearted. After a hangover, his mood was usually worst, but now, where's Yevdokimov? Oleg? He called. No answer. Oh right, Shifer-Yuga left today for a business trip to a distant district. He probably didn't even have a drink for his hangover. Duty calls? Duty sounds the trumpet, or better yet, buzzes. After drinking a glass, Gulin immediately remembered yesterday's events, which made his soul rejoice for no reason. He climbed into the pit. Since morning it had been raining non-stop. Moisture seeped into the cell and the metal sheets that lined the cell inside and out were covered with condensation. It was becoming hard to breathe in the pit. The boys looked anxiously at the man who appeared. "How was your night?" he asked cheerfully. "Don't be afraid. I'm as kind as Barmali." Gulin looked at Oleg. "Gulinki is alright. Kind of nice. Let's go." Kicking Zhenya, who rushed after Oleg, the man locked the door and promised to cut off their legs. Pretty frisky. He toyed with Oleg for a long time, much longer than yesterday. Because the boy resisted, and Gulin, holding his mouth shut, got extra pleasure from it. After handling the slave, Gulin drank, ate, and realized the children hadn't eaten in a while. They won't last long this way. You have to take care of your property, but just feeding them isn't reasonable. A slave must earn his food through hard work for the benefit of his master. What task should I assign? He glanced around. Have them clean up, that's too easy to begin with. What can you really get from them? For example, washing, preparing food at the table, serving him, and cleaning. There are many chores, but I'll do them after the chains and shackles issue is resolved. Right now, we need to come up with work that can be done in the pit. Ugh, this cursed rain won't let me focus. It's pouring non-stop, probably already flooding the pit. The Dacha's previous owner left bad drainage, so there's water everywhere. The metal sheets don't fit snugly. Seal the joints and no water will be a problem. There's always work for the servants. He supervised through the cell door, often handing out slaps, forced labor. They learn faster and get used to their fate more easily. After a home-cooked lunch, Gulin returned to the Dacha. He passionately wanted Oleg. When he opened the hatch, he recoiled. The stale air from the pit made his head spin and eyes water. No wonder, the pit had no ventilation. After regaining composure, he dove down, then jumped back out. Maybe he couldn't reach Oleg after all. It's better to wait for the stench to dissipate through the open hatch. 4 times he climbed down into the pit and 4 times he scrambled back out, afraid of suffocating. 4 times he wanted to give up and go home, but a burning desire pushed him to try again. On the 5th descent he managed to open the chamber. The stench hit so hard that Gulina almost threw up. After sealing the joints, the chamber turned into an airtight space. When he swung the door open, Gulin distinctly felt the hair on his head stand on end. Zhenya stood before him, his gaunt face contorted in terror, huge empty eyes fixed on his tormentor. The boy moved toward him like a sleepwalker. With a terrible bang, Gulin slammed the door shut and leaned against it. While she was locking it with her numb fingers, it seemed as if the door was shaking from powerful blows. He climbed up for what seemed like ages, then slammed the hatch shut and lay on it. The children can be saved, but only with a hospital. Calling a doctor brings authorities to your tent and exposes everything. Impossible. Why would he sacrifice himself? The sick will die, traces will vanish, and they'll be replaced. I wonder how much longer they'll last. He didn't notice Oleg, but the incoherent mumbling coming from the cell surely belonged to him. Zhenya wasn't mumbling. He stood there silently. What's even scarier, it's like a living corpse. Looks like they'll die by morning. Yes, by morning for sure. No point in checking before then. He's had enough of this nightmare. His nerves are shot, really bad. With Yevdokimov, who returned from a business trip, they packed the bodies in bags, took them out to the forest and dumped them in a ravine. After the second bottle, the guest from Krasnoyarsk started responding to any name. Gulin, getting rowdy, made up all sorts of ridiculous nicknames and names for him. At first the guest kept repeating his real name, but then he got caught up in the silly game himself. They met at the train station. Eamon, bored in the waiting room, complained of exhaustion and that he could only get a ticket home for the next day. Where? Akinsk? How? What's Akinsk? It's a city in Krasnoyarsk Krai. And you, where are you going? Do you live here? Why are you at the station? Did you have a drink or need someone to talk to? We understand. The station can really help in times like this. I feel like having a drink, who doesn't? To your place, why not go? Eamon wasn't fit to be a slave. He's strong, muscular, he could twist anyone into a pretzel. But Gulin had a different plan for him. His cheerful mood was not only due to the wine fumes and the easy prey of the one who was about to become the subject of a devilish experiment. The little slaves they had tormented didn't even seem to leave a trace. For months, Gulin stayed at the bottom, having left his sweet craft, but everything remained quiet. It's time to come out from under the radar and capture new slaves, just without the previous amateurism. To act completely professionally, he needed to pass the qualification exam. The examiner sat nearby, pitying the vagabond who crossed Lake Baikal. "You sing wonderfully, Valdemar, but the wine is getting cold. Let's have another glass and then go to bed. 1A can take my bed and I'll settle down. Yes, on my own." "Huh, everything here is mine, and your red hump has nothing." He talked non-stop after settling the guest, then started snoring loudly. Gulin held his shoulder and patted his cheeks to ensure the examiner was fine. Helpless as a child, he barely managed 5 meters with the axe before his hand grew sore from lack of practice. He paused to catch his breath before losing determination. "That's bad, he needs to learn how to take a life, it's necessary. Things have gone too far to allow slip-ups like Marina. Of course she should have been killed back then, but who would have done it? He's Yevdokimov. It's funny, they threatened her with a knife and a noose, but neither could actually send Marina to the other side. With little slaves, yes, but with your own hands. They say the first step is always the hardest. Take one life and the rest become easy." "There he is, the first one, snoring." Gulin took a big swing. "No, it's scary to strike with the blade. The skull could split in two. It's terrifying. Use the blunt side." A brutal blow came crashing down on the sleeping man's forehead. The man instantly opened his eyes, but judging by his reaction, he didn't understand anything. He closed his eyelids, fell asleep, lost consciousness, and died. As he neared, Gulin heard breathing. Finish him, but seeing blood pour from the dented forehead. That nightmarish dent took away his last bit of resolve. He bandaged the wounded man with a sheet, then went to sleep. In the morning, he awoke to find the man slightly raised, staring confusedly at the blood on the pillow. "The blanket, the sheet. You really freaked out yesterday," you said cheerfully, Gulin. "I barely got you into bed. You messed up everything." The man stayed silent. "Don't worry, Gulin. Jumping out of bed, I'll drive you home in my car. My mom is there. She'll take care of your wound." At Gulin's apartment, and fainted, and they called an ambulance. The diagnosis is a depressed comminuted fracture of the frontal bone and a severe brain contusion. Gulina was arrested that day. During the Dacha search, they found an underground chamber and evidence of small slaves being kept there. The arrested man gave up his accomplice. The judicial panel for criminal cases of the Kirov Regional Court sentenced Gulina to execution and Yevdokimov to 8 years of imprisonment,